Thank you, friend. Shabbat Shalom's. Greetings to you all. Always a pleasure to see you. Now, it's a little bit cold here today because the furnace has been broken. It's down to like 50 degrees, so it's a little bit cold. Anyhow, friends, coming up this week is Purim on the 5th. It is also our good friend Philip's 65th birthday, a Purim birthday. How awesome! And because we could dress in costume, he could be anybody he wants to be for this particular celebration, although I am sure he will just be himself. For I can't think of a kinder, sweeter, more beautiful human being. When we talk about caring for humanity, treating people with dignity, being kind, compassionate, and filled with the radiance of decency and generosity, we can only aspire to be like him. Have a fantastic birthday, my friend. You are a gem, and I am so glad I am one of the many who get to call you friend. Now, while I was not there for your first bar mitzvah, I not only expect to be there for your second, but I expect to lead it. For those who might have forgotten, while you can re-bar mitzvah at any time you like, and you do see more and more adult bar mitzvahs these days, you're supposed to have a second one at the youthful age of 83. I know that's an eternity away, but it is never too early to start preparing. And I hope that Bruce and Ellen, Bob and Cindy, it sounds a little like that movie from the 70s, Bob and Carol, Ted and Alice, are enjoying their break from civilization as they recharge their batteries. I certainly hope they are nibbling on sponge cake, watching the sun bake all of those tourists covered with oil. Thank you, Jimmy Buffett. We all need to spend a little more time in Margaritaville. It is never far away, and we should all take more time in our lives, in our days, in our weeks to do so. For those changes in latitudes, changes in attitudes, so nothing remains quite the same. Nothing does remain the same, does it, friends? I'm very excited that Purim is coming upon us in a few days. The story of Esther, Mordechai, Haman, and the great Persian king Ahasuerus, who we now know was Xerxes I, the son of the great Persian king Darius I, or Darius the Great. And for those who are interested, in all probability, Darius was a Zoroastrian, which was an ancient monotheistic religion from about the 6th century before the Common Era. Now, Mordechai of the tribe of Benjamin, whose name comes from the Babylonian Marduku, which means servant of God, or more specifically, servant of Marduk, the great Babylonian creator god who created earth and sky, like another god we recently read about, lived in Susa, the great Persian metropolis. He adopted his orphan niece Hadassah, who was renamed Esther, a Babylonian name derived from the goddess Ishtar. And so we have the king and queen of the Babylonian pantheon, Marduk and Ishtar, become Mordechai and Esther, the saviors of the Jewish nation. Did they exist? I leave it to you to decide, but there is a little onomastic information for you, my friends. Now, as the story goes, for whatever reason, the Persian queen at the time, Vashti, was having a bad couple of months. She refused to be on display and ended up being deposed, which left a vacuum on the throne. So the king ordered all the beautiful maidens to the palace from everywhere in the kingdom in order to replace her. And he chose Esther. Now, shortly thereafter, Mordechai overheard an assassination plot against the king and told Esther, who warned the king. Now, of course, Mordechai received great credit for this. Now, around the same time, the great prince Haman was granted special honors, and everyone was to bow to him when he rode by. Everyone did, except for Mordechai, who it was said would only bow to his God. And so Haman plotted for the destruction and extirpation of all the Jews in the empire. And yes, friends, it seems that almost since the beginning of time, there have been futile attempts to destroy the Jewish people, nation, and spirit. And we can only hope for the day when this foolish desire is no more. As the Buffalo Springfield saying, love is but a song we sing, and fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains ring or make the angels cry. Come on, people, now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Now, Haman was able to get the king's approval for the destruction, and he cast lots, or pur, in order to pick a date. And the date that was picked was the 14th of Adar. So Esther ended up presenting a petition to the king, asking for mercy for herself and her people. And the king remembered that Mordechai had saved his life and realized Haman was treacherous, at which he forgave the Jews and had Haman hanged on the gallows Haman had built for Mordecai. It is a great story that comes to us from the book of Esther, which was the last of the 24 books of the Tanakh to be canonized. It is a celebration of a genocide which did not occur. And do not forget, my friends, that for Purim, the day of lot casting, there are 4 mitzvahs or good deeds to be performed. The performance of acts of tzedakah and kindness, often in the form of food baskets to those less fortunate. Honoring the appointed time, the 14th of Adar, to remember the days of Purim for all generations. Hearing the Megillah read, and I will refrain from the whole Megillah joke, the Megillah being the scroll of Esther, and enjoy a holiday meal, dress up in costume, drink, celebrate. And how truly appropriate for this holiday that the famous saying from Ecclesiastes 8:15 and Isaiah 22:13, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we shall die. If you do get that merry, my friends, as I said before, do not drive, be responsible. Have a fantastic Purim, friends. Cast the lots. And these days, a lot of lots, the 6-sided ones, are cast in casinos everywhere. And have a fantastic birthday, my friend. Friends, we're about to continue with the what almost will seem unending instructions at the tent of meeting. As this week we have Tetzaveh, you shall command, as God continues instructing Moses on what to command the people. We begin with what I ended last week with the Ner Tamid, the eternal flame, which, as I said, was actually lit every evening and burned till the next day. Exodus 27:21. Aaron and his son shall arrange it from evening until morning in front of the Lord, and eternal law through their generations from the children of Israel. There you have it. Not eternal, but renewed. And isn't there just a little more magic in the concept of renewal? And the incredible process of holiness and sanctification that renewal can bring. Like when we light the weekly Shabbat candles, it is the weekly renewal of sacred time. If you had any doubt, we were also told as the Parsha ends with the instructions for the incense in Exodus 38. And when Aaron lights the lamps at twilight, he shall burn it a perpetual incense before the Lord for your generations. At twilight, not eternal, but repeatedly renewed. The eternal flame, my friends, is the flame of love and devotion, and that we carry in our hearts, in our tabernacles, in our mishkans. And take note that with the myriad of detailed instructions which this parsha contains, it all comes down to ritual. What is ritual? What role does it serve? Do you have rituals in your life? What role do they serve? Is renewal not a ritual? You will also notice a huge shift begin to take place. The province of the tent and of ritual is about to become the property of the priesthood, as defined by the lineage of Aaron and his sons. Exodus 28:1. Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. Now, unfortunately, Nadab and Abihu are not going to make it, and what will be one of the most fascinating stories to come. You see it coming close to the holy objects or to the altar. They risk violation of the sacred if they act incorrectly. The seriousness of this matter will become manifest when these 2 of Aaron's sons violate the holy and die in Leviticus 10. And it serves as a warning to all of us about holiness and about the approach to the sacred. Now you shall make sacred garments for Aaron your brother, for glory and for splendor. There's a lot of instructions regarding these garments. After all, they're sacred. And we're told they're for glory and for beauty. Now let's think about that for a minute. Look around your life, my friends. Beauty inspires. Building beautiful places for the practice of religion is a valuable thing. But this does not mean we should be building great edifices at the expense of the starving masses, nor does it mean we should be focusing on the outer trappings and missing the content and spirit that they serve. There must be balance, wisdom. It's important to recognize the value of art and beauty. We see them in the building, in the tabernacle itself, the priest's clothing, the sounds, the smells, the tastes. Religion is not the enemy of the senses. It uses them. We are sensual beings, and ritual and sensual go hand in hand. Sensual and inspires. This series of details of the trappings of the priesthood is about the senses. And it's about bringing the senses into play. Breastplate, an ephod, robe and patterned coat, a headdress and a sash. You see each one as I say its name. An ephod was a sleeveless garment worn by the priests. My favorite line was, the opening for the head shall be in the middle of it. And friends, try as I might, I have not figured out where else the opening might be. If any of you can figure out where else the opening might be, please let me know. Now, why is there such an emphasis on the piecemeal steps of making these things, my friends? It is part of the process, the ritual of holiness. The creation of image and power and sacrosanctity that speak to us is played out as we observe the transformation of Moses' brother and nephews into a distinctive priestly caste. This is the burden of this passage, and it is the brilliant priestly costume for glory and for splendor that most impressively affects this transformation. And suddenly we are introduced to the third most recognized relic of antiquity, as Moses is instructed, and you shall make a breastplate of judgment, designer's work. What is the breastplate of judgment? I forget about designer's work. We'll talk about that next time. It is the famous breastplate of Aaron. 4 rows of stone, a row of carnelian, a topaz, and an emerald, the one row. And the second row, a ruby, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row, a jacket, an agate, and amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold in their mountings. It is the sons of Jacob in birth order, the tribes of Israel. And we've all seen depictions of the great breastplate, and it was a holy garment. And that's a powerful one. And it too probably disappeared with all of the other trappings that disappeared at the end of the First Temple period. This whole section, friends, is about the sacred and what it meant biblically. We have no real sense of it. See, it all begins with Moses is to do the initial anointing. He anoints 2 things in his career, the tabernacle and the priesthood. Exodus 28:41, and you shall dress them, Aaron your brother and his sons with him, and you shall anoint them and fill their hand and sanctify them, and they shall function as priests for me. And the word for anointing, my friends, is Mashiach, which becomes the province of kings and moves to the province of saviors, the ultimate king, the Messiah. But here in its first occurrence in the Torah, it is understood that the original use of anointing is for ordaining the high priests. Now, another interesting historical fact is that in biblical figure of speech, the monarch is not the crowned king, although they sometimes did wear crowns, but the anointed king, the Mashiach. And one of the most mysterious and mystical passages in the Torah comes in this collection of instructions. Exodus 28:30. And you shall put the Urim and Thummim in the breastplate of judgment, and they shall be on Aaron's heart when he comes in front of the Lord. And Aaron shall carry the judgment of the children of Israel on his heart in front of God always. You see, the judgment, mishpat, function of the breastplate is executed through the Urim and Thummim that are set in it. The Urim and Thummim. We've pondered for centuries what these are. They have something to do with asking God for an answer to a question. They are mentioned just 4 times in the Torah, twice in Samuel 1, and then never again in Israel's history until the narrative of Ezra and Nehemiah, where it is noticed that answers through the Urim and Thummim are not available. Friends, we just do not know what they are. What is important is that several different biblical sources indicate that there was a belief that it was possible to ask direct questions of God and get an answer. And that this was done through a priest, not through a prophet. Accordingly, it was the only mechanism other than prophecy to ask a question and learn the will of God. And it is known as a practice only in Israel's earliest historical era. Now, traditional interpretation associates the 2 words with roots that mean light and perfection. And it was thought that the stones in the breastplate lit up in providing an answer. Now, for those who've not looked yet, please go to the Urim and Thummim section of my webpage where you can read about it and ask a question, as would have been done in the biblical period, and you'll be able to watch the mechanism at work. Now, of course, after the destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem and the loss of the ark, the tablets, the tabernacle, and the Urim and Thummim, much of the feeling for the sacred must have been lost. And since the destruction of the second temple, our sense of the sacred has diminished even more. And so it's become even harder for us to comprehend this aspect of the biblical world and to appreciate the power and awe that were associated with the sacred. Now, the ancient audience of this text had an immense advantage over modern readers because it would have had some actual glimpses of all these splendid raiment and priestly ornamentation, and thus it would have had a concrete notion of what was being referred to. We can only imagine. These items and the sense of sacred they carry may have disappeared, but the ritual that we brought with us and the sacredness that carries has not. And Moses is told in Exodus 28:41, and you shall dress them. Aaron, your brother, his sons with him, and you shall anoint them and fill their hand and sanctify them, and they shall function as priests for me. They shall have priesthood as an eternal law. Friends, this is a chain of succession, still recognized as the Kohanim, a membership I proudly hold an older succession than for any monarchy. Now, I asked what ritual meant to you. It is defined as a sequence of activities involving gestures, words, and objects, performed in a sequestered place and performed according to set sequence. And you see it forming here. And the form it takes still grips us to this day in so many ways in our lives, consciously and unconsciously. Exodus 29:37. 7 days you shall make atonement on the altar and make it holy. And the altar shall be holy of holies. Anyone who touches the altar will be holy. Now there's that phrase again, the Holy of Holies. Like the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle, this phrase means that this altar is the holiest of all. So anyone who touches the altar will be holy. The quality of being holy can be spread. Holiness is a contagion. Coming into contact with the ark, which is in a state of holiness, renders one holy as well. The condition of impurity may spread by contact too, as we will see in Leviticus. The Torah involves a belief that there are certain conditions which are invisible, but which have an effect on persons and objects. The spreading of holiness by contact also confirms that the word holy does not refer to just being apart or separate, as we've been taught in the past. Holiness is a powerful condition, my friends, related to closeness to the divine. And so coming into contact with the ark in your heart makes you holy. And when you open your heart to others, you impart holiness to them. We are told in several parts of the Torah that we are a holy people to God. It is part of your genetic makeup, my friends. Now, in the ancient Near East, the inner sanctum was a dangerous place, as we will see. Any misstep or involuntary trespass of the sacred paraphernalia could bring death. The sound of the ringing golden bells on Aaron's hem goes before him as he enters the sanctum, serving as a warding away function to shield him from harm in this zone of danger. Now, this whole series of cultic regulations is arranged in concentric circles. First, the donation of the lavish materials of the tabernacle and the instructions for assembling the elaborate portable structure. Then the directions for constructing the inner sanctum, the altar. Then the vestments and sacred ornaments of the priests. Then the priests themselves, their installation rite, their instructions for the sacrifices, the meal offering, and the libations. You all now carry the priestly ritual within you. The Holy of Holies, the holiest place, is in your heart. You're always holy, my friends. You do not need anyone to tell you that you are. You simply have to inculcate it. It is who you are. Just in case you forget, Exodus 29:45 will remind you that you're never alone. I shall tent and they will know. Because it's so easy to get lost in all the details of the tabernacle and the priesthood. This powerful statement comes in the middle of the section. We are told that once these things are established, that God will meet with Moses and the people there. God will be present among the people. Yahweh will be their God, and they will know that Yahweh is their God. And this, my friends, is one of the most crucial passages in the Torah. It is the basis of all the law and most of the episodes that will come in Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. God will always tent in your holy of holies, and he will meet you there. He will meet you there anytime you want. Now, that would be something. Really would be something. That would be something. To meet you in the fallen rain, Mom. To meet you in the fallen rain. Enjoy your ritual. Enjoy your holiness. Love you all. Live free, be free, and honor your freedom. Be well, be happy, be blessed. Share and honor the light in all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send everyone you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone and end to terror and hatred. Have a fantastic Purim celebration. Dress up, get drunk. And remember, friends, we are a community. We learn together, we celebrate each other, we love each other. Have a great birthday, Phil. Thank you all. See you all next time. Bless you. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye.